Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Corey from Thought Soldiers. So I wanted to do a another video, just kind of unpacking more of what I discussed yesterday, and I also got some channelings that came through last night, and wanted to expand more on them, and just to kind of send these messages out because it feels like there are people in the collective that are going through this, and I kind of wanted to just unpack it and let everyone hear this message. So the vision I got of kind of what's going about with the recent energies in this wave that hit was I saw a tree firmly rooted in soil, and basically an arm grabbing the tree and pulling it and shaking it up and down, like to the point of not completely uprooting it, but loosening up the soil around the roots. And when I got this visual, is basically telling me that the density of the soil in which this tree was sitting was causing it to not receive enough oxygen, enough light, and enough water for new roots to grow and to kind of provide it room to breathe. And so this is kind of what it feels like is going on. So whether this is happening physically, it's happening spiritually, it's happening emotionally, this is occurring to provide more space once again, which is the same thing I discussed yesterday. But it was an interesting visual I got, and I wanted to share with you guys. That just provides an interesting insight as to how dense our environments can get when packed in with so many things. And so these energy waves that are coming through once again is just a clearing way to allow more room to breathe, to allow more things to come in. So the first message that I got was disillusionment portrays the victor as being whole when his fractures are clear when in light. And so basically what this is saying is that not everyone is how they are perceived to be, especially when light is shown onto who they really are. So this is a call to really see through the veil. And if you have anyone in your life that you've been putting on a pedestal, anyone that you've been looking up to, it's a call to really kind of take a step back and to really ask if these people are deserving of this much power. This message isn't personal for me. This is something that came through, so I know and trust that this is going to reach the person that needs to hear it. But it's all about seeing things for the way they are and recognizing that even with the fractures, we are whole beings, but to not put people on a pedestal, because we are all equals here. This is the process of inner standing. In my eyes, is eye-to-eye, peer-to-peer connections that aren't one is greater, one is lesser, or making comparisons, especially when it comes down to the master, the student, the relationship between the master and the student, the relationship to the teacher to student, the guru to student, so on and so forth, is recognizing that everyone has fractures, that we are all healing and we are all mending. It doesn't make them any less than or any better off than any other individual, but to not be disillusioned by those that we would consider high up in the spiritual community, masters, things of that nature. They are enlightened. They have gone through a very difficult path to land where they're at. Their insight is valuable, but also to recognize that they are humans as well, and to not give them too much power, because they can disappoint if we start to put them on a pedestal. And this is the same thing with anyone in our lives, whether it comes down to relationships, it comes down to family, it comes down to careers. It's all about an equal balance, equal give and take, true reciprocity in the relationship, whether it be with money, whether it be with career, with family, with partners, so on and so forth. And so seeing through that veil, and that's what a lot of these energies are doing too, is that it is shaking up people's shadows. And so we might see a darker side of them, or we might see them processing their stuff, and start to see those fractures. And to me, that's actually a beautiful process, because it helps me to recognize that you're human too, and you're going through your thing. You're not just 100% perfect in the old paradigm way of thinking, where everything is puppy farts, rainbows, and sunshine. You might have a good attitude, You might have a great message to carry, but I prefer to see some cracks in the pavement to let me know that you're real, and that's just me. And so, once again, I know this is for someone, but it's definitely to just not be disillusioned, and to see things for exactly as they are, and to kind of remove the fantasy and the imagination aspect of looking up to these characters, and just honoring who they are and their process, and being grateful for what they are teaching us, but to not put them on a pedestal. Next message is service to self is vital in producing distinct results while integrating the energetic upgrades. So once again, this is something I touched on yesterday too, which is the service to self, as we are embodying more self-love and filling up our cups more and really loving our energetic imprint, because then we can reflect that outward, and it starts to seep into our relationships, into every facet of our life. And so if you are having, relationship issues with your family, with your friends, with your partners, spouses, whatever, sometimes I find the best cure versus fixing the bond in the relationship first is to look at myself, especially if it's something that I'm holding up. If there's a part of me that is creating that crack or that discord in the relationship, and that's something that you can tune into, is to go, is this block right now that is happening between this bond? Are both parties playing a role in this? Is it just me? Is it just them? And once I ask those questions to my intuition and I get my insight and my answers, that's when I can take action. And so if there are two people and there's a fracture between those two people, and both people have a play in that, that's when it's time to practice that self-love and to get into harmony with that, because then and only then will you start to see the bond reestablish and come back together. That is something that I've found a lot, is that when there is discord in my external, it's because I've projected it. It's because there are still some subconscious beliefs and some patterns that I'm playing out. And so when I go within and I heal and I practice that self-love, I find that those relationships mend themselves on their own. So especially with how much this shakeup has been, and it's taking a long while for a lot of people to integrate, whether it be physically, spiritually, or emotionally, self-love and self-care is at an all-time need right now. And this is a common theme when we are going through the awakening process, is self-love, because it is self-enlightenment, it's self-actualization. It all starts with self. It begins and ends with self. The relationships and the bonds and the people falling in and out of resonance, anything in our external is just icing on the cake, when the core foundation, the meat and the meat and potatoes is you. And so the call is to really take care of yourself, honor yourself, write out affirmations of things you love about yourself. Say, I am worthy, I am, and list all of your strengths and repeat it to yourself over and over. Another really good exercise for this is to get on voice memos on your phone and actually state affirmations over and over, and record it and listen to it when you have downtime, before you're going to bed. This is all about reprogramming that subconscious mind to believe the truth of who you are in light and in love. And so if you can take some time out to write some gratitude statements and write some affirmations out of things that you love about yourself and reaffirm that to yourself, you will find that you start to fill up your cup, and then it becomes overflowing, and then you are filled with nothing but love and light, and thus will be a magnet to everything you desire. Because when we are in that lower state of, when we are dipping into the shadow, we start to get into the negative self-talk, the negative spirals, so on and so forth. We will see it reflected into our reality, especially if there is a heavy emotion driving behind that thought. It's not always the thought, but the emotion that propels that energy forward into the quantum field, and thus will be reflected back to us. So a lot of these shakeups, a lot of our family shakeups, a lot of our falling out of alignment is because we are coming to new levels of awareness and new levels of understanding, and the emotion that is driving that shadow and the emotion that is driving those thoughts is going to create those fractures. So as these energies are arriving, what's happening is these shakeups are occurring because more things are coming to the surface within, and there are more cracks being shown, more wounds being shown. And so that's why that self-love is key and vital in the expansion and the growth of who you are. And then once the healing starts to occur, you will see how you start to feel better. You will see that you start to embody more self-love, more courage, more strength, more inner beauty, more divine essence. And then that purity alone is so contagious that you will start to either mend the relationships that are in your life that you want to mend, or they will fall out of resonance and new ones will arrive. It's creating space once again for those new things to arrive as you are doing the shadow work. So the next message is create your abundance through desiring nothing and just being. So this is something that I struggle with, and when I got this message I kind of laughed to myself because, this is such a problem with me, is that if you are finding that you are lacking anything in your life, the best thing to do is to desire nothing and to just let it arrive. Because once we recognize we are whole and we are perfect and we don't need anything, we start to magnetize more. Because as soon as the I wants, the I needs start to come into play, we can almost create an energetic block. That's when we step into the I am. And when we step into the I am, we now become a magnet. So think of removing the I needs and the I wants, and then replacing with the I ams, and desiring nothing in order to bring in everything you desire. And this is a very tough one, especially for those who have struggled with extreme lack or have come from homelessness or extreme poverty or never had much in life. It's very hard to affirm that into a belief. And so this is where the doing any NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, EFT tapping, and researching those things and any sort of affirmations are really going to help in reprogramming the subconscious mind. So definitely do what I said about the recording. Make some affirmations for abundance, for love, for career, anything that you desire, and listen to those things over and over until it ingrains into your subconscious. And over about 3 weeks, it takes about 21 days to really reprogram anything, is that you will start to notice a shift in your attitude and in desiring nothing, and then everything will attract and you will now be a magnet. You now will pull in all the resources you need in order to receive everything you need on your journey. And those resources are going to be valuable connections, sudden windfalls. It could be beautiful opportunities. The only thing that's asked is when that opportunity arrives is to just walk through the door and to enjoy the ride. To step on board and to let go of the need to control that process. But you can command your universe and pull these things in as you desire nothing. And that is being in a full state. In being in an abundant state is recognizing you have and are provided everything that you need, and you don't need nothing. And everything will start to arrive at that point in time. Next, solutions take time. No solution requires no action until clarity arrives. And so if you find yourself in a problem right now with no clear solution, the call is to release control and to let it be until the solution arrives. And that is a very hard thing to do, especially if you are in a very discordant situation, you're very unhappy with where you're at in your life. The call for this message is to just be and to make room for the solution to arrive. And when it does, that's when you can take action. And so sometimes when we don't have a solution and we start to get very antsy and very, I need to do something. Sometimes that action step can either block the clarity from coming through, or it could potentially, depending on your circumstance, it could make your situation worse. Now, if you're in an abusive setting, or there's something that is either of harm to yourself or of harm to others, get out immediately. I'm not suggesting that you sit in any sort of abuse, whether it be emotional, spiritual, or physical, but the call is that if there is something that is bothering you but there is no solution, right now is the time to not take any action and just to be and to create space for that insight and that clarity to arrive, but to do what you can to arrive at that level of clarity. And that doing nothing can be meditating. That doing nothing can be breathing. The action steps that you can take are in the self-love and self-care department toward opening up your intuition and opening up your connection to guidance in order to bring those messages through to provide the clarity that you need in order to receive the action steps necessary to create that change. So once again, if you're feeling like you're a little squirrely and things aren't clear right now, do what you can. Write. Listen to some good music. Slow down the intellect. Make space between those thoughts for that insight to arrive, and when it does, that is when you can take action. And so wait for that clarity, but do what you can towards creating space for that clarity to arrive. Next message is the me mentality, which is, I would call it the give me mentality. Stems from a lack of support and will be seen right now as these energies bring forth blocks and shadows. Do not personalize this, as it is their shadow being illuminated by your light. So there might be a lot of give me, or why aren't you, a lot of kind of blaming, or the me, selfish mentality, or any other character traits might be casted upon you. And the call is to just remember that everyone right now, the energies are releasing for you, for everyone, things in their own way, whether it be physical, spiritually, or emotionally. And so if someone is reflecting that towards you, if it triggers you, then of course it's now illuminating something within you that needs to be healed. But if it doesn't trigger, remember that it's just an old wound for someone else coming to the surface, and your light is illuminating it, and so they're casting it upon you. And you might even be casting this upon people too if you're not mindful enough. And this is something that I've noticed, is that I've been projecting things of my own onto people, and I'm usually very mindful of not projecting that directly onto people. But sometimes the poison within gets so unbearable and it's got no place to go that we start to step into an old pattern of casting that poison onto others. And that those arrows, those darts that we can throw into someone's heart, sometimes, no, all the time, are not good. It's not healthy. That is how we keep casting that poison out, is by taking our poison, and instead of releasing it in a healthy way, we release it onto other people, and then they carry our poison and they take that poison and cast it on. Then all of a sudden it's this ripple effect of something that started as your poison now just being casted on to other individuals because it hasn't been released properly. So you're going to notice that, you may notice this in other people, is that other people are projecting their stuff onto you. There may be anger outbursts. There might be their limiting beliefs and their false beliefs being projected onto you. Remember right now that don't personalize it, unless there is a truth behind it that is illuminating an aspect within you that needs to be cleared. But you're going to see this more right now, and I'm seeing it a lot with certain comments from people that are like, "Oh, I wanted to hear a video about this," or "Why aren't you talking about that?" And it's like, well, because maybe that message wasn't for you. Maybe the message was for the person right next to you that really needed to hear it, and that was really down and really feeling what they were going through. And that me mentality is coming from it's coming from a lack mentality. It's coming from a not receiving what they wanted at some certain phase of their life, and it's now coming to the surface and being reflected to you. Now, if it triggers you, once again, it's a call to release that trigger and to breathe into it, to talk to it and let it come to the surface, feel the emotion 100%, let it out, and then thank it for showing you what needed to be healed. But don't give your power or give in to another person's shadow, especially if they don't know how to work through it. If anything, you can sit down and hold space with them and teach them how to do that shadow work if they are willing and ready and open to be receptive to that level of help. And then the final message is, crossing platforms will be seen more as people are adding color into their lives and seeking new in their reality. So when I mean crossing platforms, is kind of running into people that you normally wouldn't run into, meshing with people that you wouldn't normally mesh with. A lot of people are seeking new in their lives. And so you might find jobs, relationships, and people that you encounter as very unlikely candidates for soul family, or unlikely people that you would get along with. But there might just be a very important connection there. And this will create unlikely connections that may provide new opportunities and insight. These perspectives will unlock new awarenesses for you that might hold clarity for you. So that's what's happening right now, is as these shakeups are occurring, a lot of people are moving into new environments. A lot of people are changing up their routine. So you might start to see some new faces. You might start to make some new connections. And with people that would be very it would be unlikely that you'd get along with them, or they might be very unassuming. Don't judge a book by its cover, though, because there might be a very key, important message or learning lesson that this person brings to you, and a new level of insight that will help you to grow and to expand and help you to see things from a different angle. This is the value of our individual frequency when we meet with another individual, is that we can unlock some really cool insights that can help us to grow and to evolve, and there might be some great opportunities on the horizon with that person. So what's really neat about these shakeups and these things of when people start to release old patterns and old behaviors is they want to step into new environments. So if you're in a routine, you might just have a very special person step into your life and unlock something for you. It could be anything. And so let those things occur, because that change and that switch up in that dynamic might be exactly what you need in order to serve where you're at right now, or to be able to grow into a new person, a new level of insight, create some new friends, new jobs, new opportunities. So be open to that. And that's something that evidently is going on right now, is that there's this movement and this shakeup is causing these new connections to be made. And the level of authenticity that happens with that brings a really cool level of magic in complete faith in the unknown, especially when humans tend to, because of survival and because of things that have happened for eons, is we will judge a book by its cover. It's our innate, it's embedded in us. It's ingrained in us to see something and to perceive it for what it is, as a threat or as a friend, in order to discern correctly whether or not to engage or to disengage from that meeting or that relationship or that partnership. And so be open. Keep your tool of discernment extremely sharp, so you don't get yourself into a very strange scenario, or start to repeat old patterns, and you will know. Your intuition will tell you. But be open to create those new connections, and if you just happen to run across someone new, they might have a great opportunity for you. So remain open to that, and remain open to magic to occur in your life, because it's happening at a more rapid rate now, especially as we're clearing more and leveling up. When we are stepping into the unknown, we will have some unknown things come into our lives, and we have to choose whether to walk through that door once again, or we choose to we choose to not engage in that. But once again, don't judge a book by its cover, and give it an opportunity, as long as your tool of discernment is sharp. And if you sense a threat, or you sense it as something that is not going to help you to grow and to evolve and to expand, or it's an old pattern repeating in a new person, be mindful to walk away unless you need that lesson in order to grow and to get into your best version of yourself. So anyways, guys, that's all I've got. Much love and respect to everybody out in the Webiverse. Thank you so much for all the beautiful messages, and for staying here and supporting. All the links are in my description box, so click them below if you want any Reiki sessions, any coaching, if you want to purchase any light language, any personalized light language. Any of my services are there. You can also sign up for my email list, where I do a lot of creative writing and kind of update people with the Reiki Circles that are happening weekly, and just different things that are going on in my life and different services I'm offering. So thank you again for all your support, and I will see you guys on the other side. Namaste.